Hi friends, Brian LaPlante here from Halifax City Ukulele. The votes are in, and this week's session on May 20th, 6 p.m. will be all about the B-flat chord, or what I like to call the cramper chord, followed by work with bar chords. And it's interesting how the bar chords will go right back into our talk about alternate voicings. So I'll take you through the slides a little bit today so that you'll get an idea of how to practice before the session and what you're getting into. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at that B-flat chord. Okay, I have a whole bunch of slides that we can use to get a really good idea of what it looks like, what type of pressure you need on your fingers, and how to position your wrists and your thumb, which are the most important parts of forming this chord. It's all about pressure. You can imagine a vice grip. The way that a vice grip holds onto a piece of wood is the way that you should hold onto your ukulele. The more pressure you put onto the fretboard, the more the notes will resonate. So you can see on this picture, the most important position for B flat is to make sure that your thumb is always right beneath your first finger whenever you're playing a B flat or any bar chord for that matter. And what you should be able to do, as you can see in the picture on the left here, is you should be able to hold your ukulele up in the air just by pinching it. Okay, you might want to put your hand underneath so you don't drop it. But you should be able to independently hold that ukulele up. That's how much pressure should be happening between your thumb and your first finger, which is barring the first two frets on your B flat. Now the rest of the fingers you're going to want to put into an arch type position, and a really good picture of that is on slide number 4, where we can see that on our left hand, our second and third fingers are like an M, or like a fang on a snake head, and our first finger, that little knuckle, is still indented in order to keep that pressure on the bottom two strings. The last and most important part is your wrist. Okay, you want to make sure that wrist is pointed down toward the floor. If it's pointed up toward your body, you're going to have no pressure, and that thumb should not be poking up over the fretboard. It should be all behind there, and if that little thumb pokes out, that means that you're not playing it with your thumb in the right position. So that's a little bit about B flat. After that, we're going to go through exploring the key of F, which is where you're going to find that B flat chord. If we're talking about the key of F having a tonic, subdominant, and dominant chord, which are basically 3 chords that sound good together in a given key. We'll talk a little bit about that during the lesson. We're then going to play a tune called Up Above My Head, arranged by James Hill. Notice the little X4s. That's the number of times that you strum that chord. Up above my head, there's music in the air. 2, 3, up above my 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, up above my head. There's music in the air. I really do believe 2 this time. It's ahead and some 1, 2, 3. That's the section of the lesson that's more geared toward beginners and absolute beginners. For the rest of you, we're going to talk a little bit more about bar chords using a technique known as the movable nut system. It's been floating around the ukulele world, taught by teachers like Jim DeVille. It involves using that first finger as an imaginary nut on your ukulele. The nut, of course, being that white bar that's sort of made out of ivory on the top of your headstock. But you're imagining that that first finger is the same as that nut as it moves up the neck, essentially capoing your ukulele on each key. This practice page is just a way that you can practice moving that nut without any extra fingers. Now notice I'm releasing pressure as soon as I strum. Release, 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 release. We're not going, because then it starts sounding a little bit sloppy. We want to have a nice sharp pump, 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 pump. And that's why they call that the pomp technique. It was designed by Django Reinhardt back in the 30s. Pretty cool. After we practice our bar chords, we're then going to turn our bar chord nut system. We're going to move on to the 2 two of the traditional bar chord shapes. And what that means is when you're playing in any key, you can keep the shape of that original chord in the key and move it straight up the neck in order to move keys up without changing the chord position. It's a pretty neat trick. So you're imagining you have your F chord, but now we're using our second and third fingers. And now we're going to put our first finger across the first fret and bar it, imagining that is a nut. Then we're going to just put our F chord back down again, okay, on what is now going to be the first and second fret, but what's actually is second and third fret. And then we just climb it up. We just keep on lifting all the way up the neck. But notice, G is the third chord in the pattern. And it's played like that when you're in the F shape. But notice, it's the exact same chord as the regular G. Okay? All we're doing is playing an alternate voicing, which is a little bit of what we talked about last week. After that, we're going to talk about how you can interchange these alternate voicings in songs in order to get a little more sauce on a song, a little more harmonic resonance. Also, if you don't want to reach all around your ukulele, it's kind of cool to be able to switch them up. All right, so first we're going to talk about the C shape. Then we're going to talk about the F shape. These are two slides you can practice playing each fret on them. You're just going to lift up the neck fret by fret. So the C shape starts on C, then we're on C sharp, then D sharp, then E, then F, and all the way up. Now, after we practice those, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can play alternate voicings for chords within a song, all right? So we're going to go back to Up Above My Head. Notice now we have our F shape for our F sharp, our C shape for our C sharp, back to our F shape for our B, and notice you can even play extra alternate voicings to make the song easier. So here's how it sounds. We're going to play it in F sharp this time. Up above my head, there's music in the air. Up above my head. Now C sharp's in the C shape. Music in the air. Up above my... Now B, you can play two ways. Up above my head, there's music in the... Now this one's pretty hard. You got to slide up to the 6th fret. There's music in the air. So if you don't feel comfortable sliding all the way up there, you can play the alternate voicing and play B major. There's music in the air. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere, or it's a heaven somewhere. So we'll play through using those alternate voicings and bar chords in order to change keys. Because the whole reason we're doing this is so that you can sing a song in a key that feels comfortable. Maybe you don't like F sharp. Maybe you want to play Up Above My Head in G. Up above my head, there's music in the air. Up above my head, now we're D shape, C shape, there's music in the air. Up above my head, there's music in the air. I really do believe there's a heaven somewhere. Yeah, it's supposed to be it's a heaven somewhere, but you get the idea. We will take all of these songs slowly and carefully, taking time for all questions. But again, the most important thing that you can do this week until Wednesday is take a look through the slides, practice the B flat chord, making sure that you have the positioning correct and the pressure correct. Then you can play through Up Above My Head in F, which is the easiest way to play it. Once that's super comfortable, you might want to start going through the bar chord practice, the movable nut system, trying the C shape and the F shape positions. Then, if you really feel saucy, you might want to try playing Up Above My Head in some new keys. Remember, I'm going to take you through everything slowly and carefully, but if you have any questions before the session, just send me an email or ask me a question through the Halifax City Ukulele page. Can't wait to see you there. I'm really excited about this one.